This is a list of grading systems by countries. Asia. Different countries in Asia have a variety of grading scales. Grading scales for some countries in that part of the world are described in this article. Mongolia. University, China. Hong Kong. Below are the percentages and their grade and GPA equivalents. University, India. Grading in universities. Indian universities follow percentage system and Indian institutes of technology follow 10-point GPA system. The percentage system works ASA, maximum marks, 100, minimum marks, 0, minimum marks required for passing, 40 or 30. At selected India institutions, a lower percentage may be considered passing. The 8-point GPA introduced by University of Mumbai from academic year 2012 to 2013 is categorized as follows. The 10-point GPA followed by Indian Institutes of Technology is categorized as follows. Some universities follow weighted average pattern to calculate percentage first and second semester Euro 40% of the aggregate marks, third and fourth semester 60% of the aggregate marks, fifth and sixth semester 80% of the aggregate marks, seventh and eighth semester 100% of the aggregate marks. International grade conversion by World Education Services for percentages scored in Indian universities. At selected institutions, a lower grade may be considered passing. Grading in high school. Until high school, an averaged percentage is provided. A percentage over 90 is considered excellent. Between 70 to 89 is considered to be first division. Between 50 to 69 is considered to be second division, between 40 to 49 is considered to be pass. Though these terminologies and classifications depend on the Board of Education. Indonesia. Afghanistan, the highest score receivable at schools and universities is 100. Depending on the school and the grade of study, a good mark varies, but in most occasions 75 or higher is considered to be a good one. Iran. In schools, grades are based on 20. Depending on the school and the grade of study, a good mark varies, but in most occasions 16 or higher is considered to be a good one. This system of grading based on 20 is also common in universities, but sometimes percent scoring is also used in higher educational systems. Iraq. Most of the primary, middle and high schools in Iraq grade out of 100% with a passing grade of 50%, so the grade point average is out of 100. Most of the post-secondary institutions uses the word grading system described below. Israel. The 100-point grading scale is as follows. Japan. In Japan, most higher education institutions give grades on a scale from 0 to Euro 100, but a few universities aptly letter grades. While for years an A-grade range was from 80 to 100 points, some schools have started to give the 90 to 100-point range a special grade to indicate excellence. A failing grade is generally called an E, though some institutions use F. Kazakhstan. According to standardized credit system accepted in the Republic of Kazakhstan, the measurements of varying levels of comprehension in the realm of higher education in the Republic of Kazakhstan are the following. Q8. Q8 employs a 4-point grading system and percentages. Kyrgyzstan. Kyrgyzstan employs a 5-point grading system. Lebanon. In Lebanon, most schools use a 0 to Euro 20 scale where the passing grade is 10 out of 20 or in some cases 12 out of 20. However, there's a variety of grading systems used. Some schools that offer the IB or even Lebanese back use the 0 to Euro 100 scale, 60 being the average score. Some use the American system. However, in the typical school offering a Lebanese system, getting high grades is very hard, because teachers do not use the full scale. For instance, the highest score one can earn in essay writing in some schools is 14 out of 20. All scores are based out of 20. Yet each subject has a weight for the overall average. This weight is determined by the credit hours. For instance, Math x20 equals 120. Example, students' grades, English 5 credits x 13.4 equals 67 out of possible 100, Math, 6 credits x 13.33 equals 79.98 out of possible 120, Biology, 2 credits x 8.25 equals 16.5 out of possible 40, total points earned equals 163.48 out of possible 260, overall average equals 12.575 out of 20, U.S. equivalents, scale/U.S. grade equiv. 14-20 per hour plus, 13 euro 13.9 per hour, 11 euro 12.9 per byte plus, 10 euro 10.9 per byte, 9.5 euro 9.9/bar, 9.1 euro 9.4 per carat plus, 9 per carat, 8 euro 8.9/car, 6.5 euro 7.9/d, minus 12 per Fahrenheit. However, in most universities the American grading system is used. Others use the 0 euro 100 scale where the passing grade is 60 or 70 depending on the course. Yet French system universities use the 0 euro 20 grading scale. Malaysia has its own educational grading system. Different level and institution of education uses different grading scheme. This is an example of grading system practiced in a university in Malaysia. Until high school, an averaged percentage is provided. A percentage over 80 is considered excellent. Between 60 and 80 is considered to be first division. Between 40 and 60 is considered to be second division. The percentage system works ACE: maximum marks, 100, minimum marks, 0, minimum marks required for passing, 35. 100 euro 91% considered excellent, 75 euro 90% considered very good, 55 euro 64% considered good, 45 euro 55% considered fair, 41 euro 44% considered pass, 0 euro 40% considered fail. A percentage above 65% is referred as first division and indicates high intellectual level. Some universities follow weighted average pattern to calculate percentage. First and second semester euro 40% of the aggregate marks, third and fourth semester euro 60% of the aggregate marks, fifth and sixth semester euro 80% of the aggregate marks, seventh and eighth semester euro 100% of the aggregate marks. The 10-point GPA is categorized as follows: 10 euro 9.1 or A+ euro best, 9 euro 8.1 euro excellent, 8 euro 7.1 euro exceptionally good, 7 euro 6.1 euro very good, 6 euro 5.1 euro good, 5 euro 4.1 euro average, 4 euro 3.1 euro fair, 3.1-2 euro pass, 2 euro 0 euro fail. A GPA of over 7 is generally considered to be an indication of a strong grasp of all subjects. Pakistan. Grading scheme: in the old grading system consisting of a Euro-OE division Shemi-Euro, the range of percentage of marks is as follows. Nowadays most universities of engineering and technology follow following grading system. Palestinian Authority, schools have grades from 1 euro 100 starting from the 4th grade on. In universities both numerical and alphabetical grade systems can be found, it is up to the teacher. Philippines. Saudi Arabia. Most of the universities and colleges and schools in Saudi Arabia are very similar to United States except the way the grades are said. In other universities in Saudi Arabia such as Imam University, King Saud University, King Abdulaziz University, King Khalid University and King Faisal University, the following method is used: Singapore. Secondary school, the grades for tertiary education are from 0.0 to 4.0. South Korea. Middle school, points are the student's raw score in midterms and finals. High school, percentage is the student's relative position among other students taking same subject. United Arab Emirates. Primary education is free at government-run schools. The grading is managed by the Ministry of Education. However, there are many schools run by expatriates that are equally successful with their own grading system, or an accepted grading system of the country where the schools are affiliated to or share common standards with. At most universities and colleges, the United Arab Emirates grading system is very similar to the United States system. Vietnam. The grade scale in Vietnam is from 10 to 1 where 10 is the highest, 10, excellent 9, very good 8, good 7, acceptable 6, satisfactory 5, satisfactory 4, insufficient 3, insufficient 2, insufficient 1, fail. Schools and universities in Vietnam use a 10-point grading scale, with 10 being the highest and 0 being the lowest. Often, 4 is the lowest passing grade. The grading may vary from school to school. It depends on the difficulty of each. The distribution of grades differs from standards in Western countries and strongly depends on the university. In Vietnamese universities, a 10 or 9 is near impossible. Students hardly get more than 8.0 for the final results. In general, all public universities gave CS to the majority of students who could pass their examinations. Central America, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, Europe, Albania. In Albania, grades from 4 to 10 are used, with some schools allowing decimals and some others only allowing whole numbers. Most universities evaluate classes with 2 mid-exams and a final. The final exam encompasses the whole course syllabus, whereas the mid-exams usually review half. In some schools, if the average grade of the 2 mid-exams is equal to or higher than 7.00, the student is able to pass the class without the need to take a final exam. An average of less than 4.00 is failing. Students who score such an average are not allowed to take the final exam. In high schools, the year is divided into 3 trimesters and classes are usually yearly. Students need an average of 6.00 or higher in the 3 trimestral exams to avoid having to take a final to pass the class. In the event of a student scoring less than 6.00 in the 3rd trimester, he or she would have to take a final exam, regardless of average. This is considered controversial, since the last trimestral exam is not more important than the first 2, but the rule stands to prevent students who have already reached the minimum average from not making an effort during the last 3 months of the year. Austria. In Austria, grades from 1 to 5 are used. The formalized overall grade in Austria is pass with distinction, which is given for excellent performance and pass. If someone is given a pass with distinction in his Matura, diploma and PhD, all curricula absolved in the regular duration time, he can have a promotio sub auspiciis Presidentis Rei Publicae, which is the highest honor in Austria, only achieved by 1 out of 2,500 graduates yearly. Generally speaking, a cumulative grade point average does not exist in the Austrian educational system and therefore has little relevance in the local job market. Belgium. In Belgian universities, a scale from 0 to 20 is used on a per-subject basis. A weighted average is then computed on scale from 0 to 20, with 10 being the passing grade per subject. A total average of 14, 70% gets you a distinction grade, 16, 80% means high distinction, and an average of 18, 90% yields the highest distinction. Belgian secondary schools use a scale from 0 to 100 or even above for exams. On report cards, certain schools also give grades on a percentage scale while others use a 0 or 10 scale. Those total scores are weighted averages of exams and tests. In Belgian secondary schools, there are 6 years. In the first 3 years, students have to do exams every term. The scores are usually given in percentages. On the end of the school year, a total average score is given. Colleges use the same scale from 0 to 20 as Belgian universities, although homework and presence may influence up to 50% or even more of these 20 points. Scaling varies significantly depending on the university or college. Bosnia and Herzegovina. In Bosnia and Herzegovina, grades from 5 to 1 are used in primary and secondary education, while grades from 10 to 5 are used at universities. Primary and secondary education grading, university grading, Bulgaria. In Bulgaria, the following grade scale is used in schools. For examinations and tests, exact grading is often used and is represented by 2 positions after the decimal point. Grades as, for example, good or excellent, are common. Every passing grade at or above the .50 mark is prefixed with the term of the higher grade. The minimum is 2.00. Grades below 3.00 are failing grades, and the maximum is 6.00. Grades like very good and average are also possible, these are ignored in calculations. Roughly, the Bulgarian grade system can be equated to the American one as the following: 6 equals A, 5 equals B, 4 equals C, 3 equals D, and 2 equals F. Also, in accordance with the Australian system, 6 equals HD, 5 equals D, 4 equals CR, 3 equals P, and 2 equals F. The most common formula used in Bulgarian schools is currently grade equals 6 number of correct answers / total number of questions. That way, if a student has answered 7 out of 10 questions correctly, their mark should be /10 equals 4.20, which is graded as good for or an average performance. Croatia. In Croatia, the following grade scale is used in schools. At the end of each semester the grades are averaged to form a grade point average. According to this scale, in colloquial Croatian, grades are referred to be their numerical values: jedinica, dvoja, troja, etvorka, petica. In the Kvarner region of Croatia, jedinica is also known as komad or kolak and dvoja is also known as tujar. Students with failing grades are allowed to carry those grades throughout the school year, but are required to improve them to passing grades in order to finish the year. Failure to pass one class results in the student being held back a year. Czech Republic. In Czech Republic, a 5-point grading scale is used in both primary and secondary schools. Plus and minus signs are often used to further differentiate marks. For example, 2+ corresponds to the US B+. Half intervals may also be used, such as to a Euro 3, a grade halfway between 2 and 3. At the university level, only grades 1, 2 and 3 are passing. Anything worse than 3 is automatically a failing grade. Some universities use a 6-point scale, with A corresponding to 1, B to 1, a Euro 2, etc. Denmark. The current scale, Siftrinsskalaen, was introduced in 2007, replacing the old 13 scala. The new scale is designed to be compatible with the ECTS scale. Siftrinsskalaen consists of 7 different grades, ranging from 12 to a 3, with 12 being the highest. This new scale remains an absolute scale, meaning that proportions are not taken into consideration. Estonia, Finland. Several systems are in use in different educational institutions in Finland. The school grade system has historically been a scale of 0 to 10, but all grades lower than 4 have been discarded. Thus, it is now divided between 4, the failing grade, and 5, a Euro 10, the succeeding grades. Upper secondary school has same grades for courses and course exams as comprehensive school, but matriculation examination grades are in Latin. Universities and vocational institutions use a scale of 0 and 1, a Euro 5, or fail-pass. Some schools, for example Savanamati Jani Quisapisto, uses grading from 0 and 1 to 3. The professor selects which grading scheme is used. Short, optional courses typically have pass-fail grades. France. In France, schools' grades typically range from either 0 to 20 or, sometimes, from 0 to 10. A mark below the average is usually a fail. For the French national high school level, a grade of 8, a Euro 10 typically gives the right to take an additional oral exam in order to try to improve that average to 10 and pass. A grade between 10 and 12 is a simple passer. Between 12 and 14 the grade is called Asses Bien A. 14, a Euro 16 is called Bien A. Above 16 is Traes Bien. An exams jury can award the FAR copyright licitations due jury for any mark, though they usually reserve it to a candidate who has achieved 18/20 or more. Grade equivalence between France and the U.S. grading scale. U.S. grade equiv. 14-20 equals or. 12-13.9 equals B+. 11-11.9 equals B. 10.5-10.9 equals B. 10.1-10.4 equals C+. 10 equals C. 9-9.9 equals C. 8-8.9 equals D. 0-7.9 equals E. Germany. In Germany, school grades vary from 1 to 6. In the final classes of German gymnasium schools that prepare for university studies, a points system is used with 15 points being the best grade and 0 points the worst. The percentage causes the grade can vary from teacher to teacher. The percentages shown in the table are the ones used in the Oberstufe. This conversion scheme is intended as a guideline, as exact conversions may differ. Greece. Scale, 0.00 a euro 10.00, pass, 5.00. The table below depicts the Greek grading system while illustrates approximately how the grades are compared with ECTS, US and UK grades. For the National Technical University of Athens the above grades are different: 9 to 10 is excellent, 7 to 9 is very good, 5 to 7 is good, 0-4.9 is fail. Hungary. In Hungary, a 5-point scale has been used since 1950. There is one failing grade, 1 a euro ELA copyright Ctilon. In general, the lowest passing mark is either 50% or 60%, or 1 mark higher. Passing grades are 2 a euro ELA copyright XA copyright JIS, 3 a euro car paragraph ZEPS, 4 a euro jar cubed and 5 a euro GILS. The bare 5-point scale is used almost exclusively for final grades at all educational levels. During the academic year, however, teachers may use various modifiers, especially in elementary school. A comma after the grade has a minus effect, and an apostrophe after the grade has a plus effect. A grade halfway between two integers is indicated by the lower and higher one separated by a solidus. 3/4 is equivalent to 3.5, and 4/5 is between 4 and 5, etc. Sometimes 5 is used to indicate outstanding performance throughout the semester. Iceland. In Iceland, grades from 0 to 10 are used and 5 is usually the lowest passing grade, but in some cases the lowest passing grade can be 4.5. Ireland. The two government-regulated educational qualifications are the Junior Certificate and the Leaving Certificate. Passing or failing the Junior Cert has no bearing on whether or not students can graduate or continue on. For the Leaving Certificate, a point system is used. A maximum of 6 subjects are counted, with a possible 100 points in each subject. In practice, most students take 7 or 8 subjects and their best 6 results are counted. Each subject has 2 or 3 levels: higher, ordinary and foundation. The points are: a candidate can get 20 points for an A1 in foundation level subjects. If he or she achieves any grade less than a B2, which is 5 points, he or she will receive no points. The point system allocates all university places in Ireland for Irish applicants. Irish universities vary in their grading systems. For example, UCD awards letter grades and corresponding GPA values similar to the United States system, but 1, 2.1, 2.2 etc. for degrees, while TCD awards all grades as 1, 2.1, 2.2 etc. Italy. In Italy, primary and mid-school grades may vary from 10 to 1, with passing being 6. In high schools, however, grades often vary within a more limited range, between 3 and 9, each professor applying his/her own criteria, even though the total theoretical range is supposed to be 1 to 10. When a professor wants to apply a more precise scale and ranking for students' assessments, instead of using the full 1 a euro 10 scale, as he may sometimes have recourse to a plethora of symbols and decimals, the range between 5 and 6 is then expressed, in ascending order, by 5 plus, 5 plus plus, 5 or 1/2, 5/6, 6AA, and 6A. Minimum passing is 6. As these symbols have no clear mathematical value, calculating end-year averages can be somewhat arbitrary and inconsistent. Therefore, there has been a push since 2008 with the Gelmini reform to uniform the system to the 1 a euro 10 scale. Before this reform, primary and secondary school grades used a different grading scale that expressed an assessment of the pupil's progress: ottimo excellent, distinto, very good, buono, good, sufficient, sufficient, insufficient, fail. A recent school reform provides for the average grade of a student to include the grade for behavior. As in academic subjects, acceptable ratings range from 6 to 10. In universities a points system is used for exams, with 30 points being the best grade and 18 the minimum passing grade. This stems from the practice that exams were traditionally given by 3 examiners. Each had to rate the student's examination performance on a 1 to 10 scale, and the final grade was the sum of the 3 ratings. On a 1 to 10 scale, passing is 6, so on a 1 to 30 scale the minimum passing grade is 3 times 6 equals 18. Nowadays the form of each examination is decided by the professor, but the traditional grading system remained. Degrees have an analogous points system, in which however the highest grade can be 110, 100 or even 70, depending on faculty regulations. A cum laude notation is used to augment the highest grade for both exams and degrees, in all its levels, to reflect truly outstanding performance. Latvia. The academic grading system in Latvia has recently been changed to a 10-point scale, where 10 is the highest achievable grade, and 1 is awarded for extremely poor performance. The minimal passing grade is 4, though some universities have a minimum passing grade of 5. The absence of any kind of performance is indicated by NV. In the past, the mark for absence of work was 0. Teachers in lower classes and for minor assignments in higher classes are encouraged to award one of 2 grades, I for a passing grade, and NE for a failing grade. The grade of 10 is reserved for exceptional achievements. 9 is most commonly used for an USA equivalent of an A. Lithuania. In Lithuania, the grading system was changed to a 10-point scale in 1995. Prior to that, Soviet Lithuania had a 5-point grading scale. 10 is the highest achievable grade for an excellent performance and 1 is the lowest. Usually, 1 is given when there is no work submitted at all. Otherwise, most teachers keep 2 the lowest grade and rarely mark work as 1. The lowest grade for passing a subject in school is usually 4. Teachers in lower classes are encouraged to write marks such as LG Euro Labajuri, GA Euro Jurai, Patenkiname or Nepatenkiname. Some subjects can use pass-fail grades, which are a SK a Euro a Sketita or NA SK a Euro NA Sketita. The same system is used for evaluating students' work in universities. However, the minimal grade to pass is usually 5. In 6th grade, students have a choice of French, German or Russian as a second foreign language. The first foreign language is usually English, but it depends on the school. Macedonia. Primary and secondary education, university grading, Moldova. Moldova uses a 10-point scale system, 5 being the minimum grade for passing, 10, 9, 8, 6 a Euro 7, 5, 1 a Euro 4, Netherlands. In the Netherlands, grades from 1.0 up to 10.0 are used, with 1 being worst and 10 being best. This system can correspond to a percentage system but sometimes points are deducted for number of faults on a test. The grades 9 and 10 are hardly ever given on large examinations. Generally either 1 or 2 decimal places are predominantly used in secondary and higher education. In primary education, fractions of grades are identified with a plus or a, which signifies a quarter. Thus, a grade of 6.75 could be written as 7A, whereas a grade of 7 plus would count for 7.25 or 7.3. A 5.5 constitutes a pass, whereas 5.4 and below constitute a fail. If no decimal places are used, 6 and up is a pass and 5 and below is a fail. However, in this case of grading in full numbers there exists sometimes 6, which would officially translate to 5.75, but can be interpreted here as barely, but just good enough. Roughly, a student scores a 5.5 when 2/3 of an exam is correct. If the grade would be a 5.49 and 1 decimal is used, the 5.49 will be a 5.5, but if no decimals are used the 5.49 will end up as a 5 which indicates a fail. Depending on the specific university, some students who finish their studies with an average of 8.0 or higher, could get the nomination cum laude. The grade scale with its labels, Norway. In primary school no official grades are given. However, the teachers write an individual comment or analysis on tests and in the end of every term. Lower secondary school and upper secondary school use a scale running from 1 through 6, with 6 being the highest and 2 the lowest passing grade. For non-final tests and mid-term evaluations, the grades are often post-fixed with plus or A. It is also common to use grades such as 5/6 or 4/3 indicating borderline grades. However, the grades students get on their diploma are single-digit grades 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6. The student's non-weighted grade point average is also given on the Vietnam or YNL. In higher education, according to the ECTS system, grades for undergraduate and postgraduate examinations are awarded according to a graded scale from A to F, with E as the minimum passing grade. The ECTS system was implemented at Norway's universities and colleges in the early 2000s, with most schools having converted to ECTS by 2003. Before 2003, the formerly most common system of grades used at university level was based on a scale running from 1.0 through 6.0, with 4.0 being the lowest passing grade. The way the new Bologna system was introduced implies that students, who had started their studies while the old system still was in effect, will graduate with transcripts containing grades from both systems. An academic year has 2 semesters, from August to December and from January to June, although exceptions occur. Courses are measured in study polling according to the ECTS standard. A normal full-time study progression awards 60 credits per year. Most institutions either use a 7.5, 8, 10, 12, 15 or 20 credit block system. Poland, the most commonly used system in Polish grade schools is as follows: Niedostaczecia €1 €0 €34%, Dopuszczalna €2 €35 €54%, Dostateczna €3 €55 €74%, Dobra €4 €75 €89%, Bardzo Dobra €5 €90 €97%, Slużąca €6 €. This grade as a final grade is usually awarded for extracurricular merit. In examinations it is sometimes awarded for a perfect or near-perfect score. Acceptable is a passing grade. Grades might be suffixed with plus or. On rare occasions the equals is used, especially as 2 equals to express the very lowest passing grade. Post-secondary institutions use a different system, usually consisting of the following grades: Niedostaczecia €2.0 €0 €50%, Dostateczna €3.0 €51 60%, Dostateczna plus €3.5 €61 70%, Dobra €4.0 71 to 80%, Dobra plus €4.5 81 to 90%, Bardzo Dobra €5.0 91 to 100%, Zliczenia Zal, Nizliczenia NZAL. The scores corresponding to each grade vary greatly from institution to institution and from course to course, but usually a score of 50% or 51% is required to obtain the lowest passing grade. The notations ZAL and NZAL are used when the course only requires attendance and or is not important. Portugal. In Portuguese primary and middle schools, up until the 9th grade inclusive, the grading system is as follows: 5 is the best possible grade, 4, 3 indicates average performance, 2, 1 is the lowest possible grade. From the 10th grade onwards, including tertiary education, a 20-point grading scale is used, with 10 passing grades and 10 failing grades, with 20 being the highest grade possible and 9.5, rounded upwards to 10, the minimum grade for passing. This 20-point system is used both for test scores and grades. Romania, the use system in Romanian primary schools is as follows: Fot bine, sufficient satisfa florin ca florin tor, insufficient nesatisfa florin ca florin tor. In secondary schools, high schools, and academic institutions, a 10-point scale is used, 5 being the minimum grade for passing, 10, 9, 8, 6 €7, 5, 1 €4, there is no 0. If a student scores 86%, he will be given a grade of 8.60, which will be rounded to a 9. Further, for a score of 94%, A grade of 9.40 is given that is rounded down to 9. The average of grades are not rounded, thus a student can earn an average grade of, for example, 9.55. Russia. Most Russian educational institutions use a 5-point grading scale. Qualifiers plus and a euro are often used to add some degree of differentiation between the grades. For example, 4 plus is better than 4, but not quite as good as 5A. Grading varies greatly from school to school, university to university, and even teacher to teacher, even for courses that lend themselves to objective marking, such as mathematics and applied sciences. Even though the grades technically range from 1 to 5, 1 is not common and is rarely given for academic renaissance. In many cases, a 1 is given as a result of failure to show up for or to complete an exam. A 2 grade usually means that the student showed no or little knowledge in a subject. It may be worth mentioning that 1 is a fairly exotic grade in Russian schools, but it does officially exist. The generally used grades are 2 to 5. Plus and minus modifiers follow the same tendency. They are rarely used in middle school and almost never in colleges or universities. Some institutions and teachers, dissatisfied with the 5-point scale, work with various larger ones, but these grading systems are not recognized by the state and require conversion for official use. A considerably more complex grading system has been implemented for the recently introduced unified state examinations. In this system, a primary grade is the sum of points for completed tasks, with each of the tasks having a maximum number of points allocated to it. The maximum total primary grade varies by subject, so that one might obtain a primary grade of 23 out of 37 in mathematics and a primary grade of 43 out of 80 in French. The primary grades are then converted into final or test grades by means of a sophisticated statistical calculation, which takes into account the distribution of primary grades among the examinees. This system has been criticized for its lack of transparency. At universities, some subjects are graded pass-no pass, or credit-no credit. The rest are typically graded on the 5-point scale. The pass-no pass grades do not have any official numeric representation. When Zacha²TA type subjects are graded as pass-no pass, this represents a student's knowledge of a subject. Each university applies its own standards with respect to the knowledge a student must have in order to pass a subject. Zacha²T equivalent to pass with mark of min 77% to max 100%. Students in Russia must pass all prescribed courses in order to graduate. Since the word Zacha²T can be translated variously into English, this notation can create problems for Russian students applying to Western universities. Such grades may confuse Western universities and complicate accurate calculation of students' GPAs in Western systems. For Western system pass calculation recommended to perform based on averages. Western universities and equivalency organizations usually disregard Zacha²T, despite the fact that this notation is typically used for about half of a student's course results. Consequently, most Western GPA conversions of Russian degrees reflect only part of a candidate's coursework. It should be noted that all course examinations and Zacha tests must be passed at the time each is given, as there are no repeats, resits or grade appeals. Hence only those who satisfy all the requirements during the allotted examination period for each semester graduate, leaving a huge number of students behind who in the West would have a chance to resit examinations and even get their grades reconsidered. Furthermore, grades in Russia are determined not only by examination results but also by other criteria such as attendance at lectures, participation in class, term papers and projects, in-class and homework assignments, laboratory reports, presentations, and sometimes even grooming and behavior. All these must be passed during the semester before a final examination mark and final Zacha is awarded. Russian degrees do not have composite classifications such as in the British system of first class, upper-lower second class, third class, pass, etc. This is because each course is examined independently, students must pass all of them, and they do not add up or contribute to an average grade or class. Another reason is that during the Russian Revolution, social stratification and classification were supposedly abolished in the interest of promoting social equality. Accordingly, all students would be expected to perform at or above the minimum level required to qualify and graduate. Calculation of an aggregate mark or GPA is not considered fair or even possible, as it would be felt to disregard much of a candidate's academic work. The Zaka-squared-T notation would complicate such calculation, and the final thesis qualifying mark is usually considered as the final result. Students who have shown exceptional academic talent by getting 5s in most of their courses are awarded a degree with excellence, which comes in a special red cover. Serbia. Serbia has the same academic grading system of the former Yugoslavia. In elementary schools and secondary schools, a 5-point grading scale is used. 5, 4, 3, 2 is the lowest passing grade. 1 is the lowest possible grade, and the failing one. Slovakia. In Slovakia, a 5-point grading scale is used in primary and secondary schools. Spain. In Spain, schools' grades typically range either 0 to 10. A mark below 5 is usually a fail. These grades are described as follows: 10 in honors, it is the highest possible mark and typically only given to a reduced number of students who proved an exceptional performance. The student gets a discount in the following year's enrollment fee. 9 outstanding, very good performance, 7 to 8, mention, medium-high performance, 5 to 6, pass, medium performance, 0 to 4, fail. The student did not succeed in passing the exam. Sweden. Since the autumn of 2012, grades in Sweden have been given to students in the 6th grade and above. Previously, grades were given from the 8th grade. Students below the 6th grade receive an estimation of their knowledge in each subject from their teachers. The current Swedish national grade scale has been used since 2011 and contains 6 grades, which translates to a number of points, as shown below. The grades A to E are passing grades while F is failed. Grades A, C and E all have different requirements, and the requirements for A are, naturally, the hardest to reach. The grades B and D are given when a student has met all the requirements for the grade below and a majority of the requirements for the grade above. In the end of the Swedish 9-year school and upper secondary school, their points are turned into a qualification value which they use to apply for their next level of education. Switzerland. Switzerland has a grading scheme from 1 to 6. 6 is the highest and for the minimum pass mark. Ukraine. Ukraine introduced a new grading system in autumn 2000, which replaced the existing Soviet grading system. The new system provides grades that lie between 1 and 12 and are matched with the 5-point grade system that was used previously, as presented in the table below. 12 is the equivalent of an honors AP course A+ in the US and is usually given only for outstanding achievement or exceptionally creative work. Hence 11 is the grade that would ordinarily correspond to A in the United States. United Kingdom, grading in universities. A degree may be awarded with or without honors, with the class of an honors degree based on a weighted average mark of the assessed work a candidate has completed. The degree classifications are: first-class honors, second-class honors, upper division, second-class honors, lower division, third-class honors, ordinary degree. Turkey. In Turkey, grades from 1 to 5 are used. European academic grading, with the exception of Liechtenstein, which uses the Swiss grading system, and Moldova, which uses the Romanian grading system, the majority of European countries create their own academic grading standards. Most involve combinations of the key elements of grading, and all are used to evaluate students' performance on a scale of passing to failing. Austria, Belgium, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Croatia, Czech Republic, Finland, France, Germany, Greece, Hungary, Italy, Latvia, Lithuania, Luxembourg, Norway, Poland, Portugal, Romania, Serbia, Slovakia, Slovenia, Spain, Sweden, Switzerland, Ukraine, United Kingdom, North America, Mexico. Mexican schools use a scale from 0 to 10 to measure students' scores. Since decimal scores are common, a scale from 0 to 100 is often used to remove the decimal point. In some universities, students who fail a subject have the option of taking an extraordinary test that evaluates the contents of the entire period. Once the test is finished and the score is assessed, This score becomes the entire subject's score, thus giving failing students a chance to pass their subjects. Those who fail the extraordinary test have 2 more chances to take it. If the last test is failed, the subject is marked as failed and pending, and depending on the school, the student may fail the entire year. Some private schools require a 70 to pass instead of the regular 60. Grades are often absolute and not class-specific. It may be the case that the top of the class gets a final grade of 79. Curve adjustment is rare. Grad-level students are usually expected to have grades of 80 or above to graduate. Students in the honor roll are usually those with an overall GPA of 90 or higher upon graduation, and some private universities will award them a with honors diploma. Additionally, in some private universities, the pass scores is higher or lower depending from the kind of studies that are related with, and lower than this score is not acceptable. Canada. Conversions from percentage marks to letter grades, by province. Alberta, in senior high schools, in Alberta post-secondary colleges, technical institutes, or universities, the actual percentage associated with letter grade is up to the individual institution or professor teaching the course. There is no universal percentage grade associated with any letter grade in the province of Alberta, and such associations are made by professors or a bell curve. Some universities in Alberta have used a 9-point Starnian grading scale: 9 equals A+, 8 equals A or Euro, 7 equals B+/B, 6 equals bar Euro/C+, 5 equals C, 4 equals D, 0 to 3 equals F. See also the University of Alberta Office of the Registrar. British Columbia. In British Columbia universities, F is a failing grade. The following table is only an approximation. Faculties within universities sometimes follow a different system for converting percentage marks to letter grades. Grade F is the sole failing mark. Manitoba. The University of Manitoba uses a GPA system. GPA is calculated taking total points, and divided by school credit hours. Newfoundland and Labrador. In Newfoundland and Labrador universities, grade F is the sole failing mark. Nova Scotia. In most Nova Scotia universities, grade F is the sole failing mark. Ontario, percentage and grade equivalence. The University of Ottawa uses a grade point average system with numbers ranging from 0 to 10, despite many schools using the 12-point system. Official grading system at the University of Ottawa: letter grade, numerical value, and percentage equivalency. Quebec, New Brunswick. In Quebec and New Brunswick universities, this scale is used by at least 2 QTR. The Université Copyright de Montreux Copyright L scale is similar but goes from A+ to F. Université Copyright Laval uses a similar 4.33 scale. UQAM, Concordia University and Université Copyright de Sherbrooke uses a 4.3 scale. This scale is much alike many other scales used in Canada. McGill University and the École Polytechnique de Montreux Copyright L use a 4.0 scale. Université Copyright de Sherbrooke scale is from A+ to E. The percent equivalent of each grade and the passing mark can vary. The passing mark in high school and college is 60%. Saskatchewan, the University of Saskatchewan and University of Regina both use a percentage grade system, universal across faculties and departments. United States. The most popular and commonly used grading system in the United States uses discrete evaluation in the form of letter grades. Many schools use a GPA system in combination with letter grades. There are also many other systems in place. Some schools use a scale of 100 instead of letter grades. Others, including many Montessori's, issue discrete evaluation in favor of pure discursive evaluation. There is no standardized system of grading in the United States. As such, those issues are left up to individual universities, schools and the regulatory authority of the individual states. At most schools, colleges and universities in the United States, letter grades follow a 5-point system, using the letters A, B, C, D and E F, with A indicating excellent, C indicating average and F indicating failing. Additionally, Most schools calculate a student's grade point average by assigning each letter grade a number and averaging those numerical values. Generally, American schools equate an A with a numerical value of 4.0. Most graduate schools require a 3.0 average to take a degree, with C or CA being the lowest grade for course credit. Most undergraduate schools require a 2.0, or C average to obtain a degree with a minimum of D or DA to pass a course. For most secondary schools, the minimum overall and course passes are both D or DA. Some districts, such as Mount Olive Township School District in New Jersey, have eliminated D as a passing grade for their students due to a high failure rate. Whereas most American graduate schools use 4-point grading, several mostly in the West, especially in California do award D grades but still require a B average for degree qualification. Some American graduate schools use 9 or 10-point grading scales, formerly including the Rackham School of Graduate Studies at the University of Michigan, where 9.0 equals A+, 8.0 equals A, 7.0 equals or, and so on. In a handful of states, within the United States, GPA scales can go above 4.0. The percentage needed in any given course to achieve a certain grade and the assignment of GPA point values varies from school to school, and sometimes between instructors within a given school. The most common grading scales for normal courses and honors advanced placement courses are as follows. Some states may use an alternate grading scale such as the following, which is commonly used. Whether a school uses E or F to indicate a failing grade typically depends on time and geography. Around the time of World War II, several states began to use E, while the majority of the country continued to use the F, which traces to the days of pass-fail grading. In recent years, some schools have begun using an N for failing grades, presumably to represent no credit. Another letter used to represent a failing grade is U, representing unsatisfactory. Chromatic variants are used. In most 100-point grading systems, the letter grade without variance is centered around a value ending in 5. The plus variant is then assigned the values near the 9-digit and the minus variant is assigned the values near 0. Any decimal values are usually rounded. Thus, a score of 80 to 82 is a bar, a score 83 to 87 is a B and a score of 87 to 89 is a B+. The 4-point GPA scale, the letter grade without variance is assigned to the integer. The plus and minus variants are then assigned to 0.3 above the integer and 0.3 below the integer, respectively. Thus, a B is equal to 3.0, a B plus is equal to 3.3, and a bar is equal to 2.7. The A range is often treated as a special case. In most American schools, a 4.00 is regarded as perfect and the highest GPA one can achieve. Thus, an A, being the prime grade, achieves the mark of a 4.00. For the A+ mark, most schools still assign a value of 4.00, equivalent to the A mark, to prevent deviation from the standard 4.00 GPA system. However, the A+ mark, then, becomes a mark of distinction that has no impact on the student's GPA. A few schools, however, do assign grade values of 4.33 or 4.30. But the scale is still called 4.0, because grading scales take their numerical names from the highest whole number. In many American high schools, students may also score above 4.0 if taking advanced, honors, advanced placement, or international baccalaureate classes. There has been dispute over how colleges should look at grades from previous schools and high schools because one grade in one part of the country might not be the equivalent of a grade in another part of the country. In other words, an A might be 90/100 somewhere, and a 94/100 somewhere else. In middle and high schools that do not use a system based on academic credit, the grade point average is computed by taking the mean of all grades. In colleges and universities that use discrete evaluation, the grade point average is calculated by multiplying the quantitative values by the credit value of the correlative course, and then dividing the total by the sum of all credits. For example, total credits, 11, total grade points, 35.3, grade point average, 35.3/11 equals 3.209 or slightly below B+. In a standards-based grading system, a performance standard is set by a committee based on ranking anchor papers and grading rubrics, which demonstrate performance which is below, meeting, or exceeding the standard. This standard is intended to be a high, world-class level of performance, which must be met by every student regardless of ability or class, although they are actually set by a committee with no reference to any other national standard. Levels are generally assigned numbers between 0 and 4. Writing papers may be graded separately on content and conventions. Since grading is not based on a curve distribution, it is entirely possible to achieve a grading distribution in which all students pass and meet the standard. While such grading is generally used only for assessments, they have been proposed for alignment with classroom grading. However, in practice, grading can be much more severe than traditional letter grades. Even after 10 years, some states, such as Washington, continue to evaluate over half of their students as below standard on the state mathematics assessment. Here is another example of a commonly used grading scale, currently in place at Wayzata High School in Plymouth, Minnesota. The grade point average is not the traditional 4-point scale, but uses the 12-point scale for unweighted classes and the 15-point scale for weighted classes. The 12-point GPA scale works as follows. Students receive 12 points for an A or A+, 11 points for an or, 10 points for a B+, etc. for each grading period. Once a grading period is complete, the student's total grade points are divided by the total number of credits and a GPA is generated. For example, here is one term of grades and a grade point average from a student whose school uses the 86-minute block schedule, Oceania, Australia. This is an approximate NAPLAN and Higher School Certificate Secondary School Guide. The majority of the Australian tertiary institutions use the following grading structure. Some other Australian universities have a marking system based on the honours system used by British universities. In schools reports they use these system, A 90 to 100% excellent, B 75 to 90% good, C 40 to 75% satisfactoriness, D 25 to 40% limited, E 10 to 25% very low, F 10% failed. Many courses also have non-graded pass and non-graded fail, in which it is considered more appropriate to have qualitative than quantitative assessment. However, in some universities, an F1 category may be given a pass conceded if the student's weighted average is greater than a nominated threshold. Grade point averages are not generally used in Australia below a tertiary level, but are important for selection into graduate entry courses such as medicine and law. They are calculated according to more complicated formula than some other nations, and may be customized for the particular course application when used as entry criteria into graduate entry degrees. Grade point average equals sum of / total number of credit points attempted, in which grade points are as follows: high distinction equals 7, distinction equals 6, credit equals 5, pass equals 4, fail level 1 equals 1, fail level 2 equals 0. At some universities, such as Macquarie University, University of Technology, Sydney, Royal Melbourne Institute of Technology and Monash University, Melbourne, a GPA calculation out of 4 is calculated, whereby 4.0 equals a high distinction, 3.0 is a distinction, 2.0 is a credit, and 1.0 is a pass. In certain faculties, such as law, it is therefore possible to graduate with honours with a GPA of less than 2.5. Whenever a course result is a non-graded pass, the result will normally be disregarded in GPA calculation. The term course unit values is used to distinguish between courses which have different weightings, for example between a full-year course and a single-semester course. The high school certificate system varies from state to state. But in most states the ATAR system determines tertiary positions. Government-supported positions are given to students that achieve above a certain ATAR threshold. The value of the ATAR corresponds with their Year 7 cohort, including students that did not complete Year 12. An ATAR of 80.00, for example, indicates that students with that ATAR have performed in the HSC better than 80% of their Year 7 cohort. Had all these Year 7 students completed Year 12 and been eligible for an ATAR. By contrast, in Queensland, graduating Year 12 students are awarded an OP of between 1 and 25, 1 being the most coveted. Students are allocated their OP by means of a summation of marks from all their Year 12 courses, and also from the QCS test, this being a series of 4 tests held at the end of secondary education. New Zealand. Most New Zealand secondary schools use the National Certificate of Educational Achievement marking schedule, even in pre-NCEA years for commonality. There are 4 grades, from lowest to highest: not achieved, achieved, merit, and excellence. The minority of schools using other secondary school qualifications have different grades. Grading at tertiary institutions generally centers around a letter scale, with a corresponding 9-point GPA scale. South America, Argentina. In Argentina the GPA is calculated quarterly, each semester, or annually. Grades usually range from 1 to 10. The passing mark is typically 70%, which in secondary school is represented by a grade of 7. Depending on the university, admittance may require completion of secondary school. A common basic year to all degrees. Students may need to pass an entrance exam for some of the more popular degree programs. This may also apply to all degrees in private universities. In the past, some universities admitted people over 25 years old even if they couldn't complete high school, but they must pass an entrance exam. University grades are also on a scale of 1 to 10, but 4 is passing and usually corresponds to a mark of 75%. Brazil. In Brazil the GPA are known as coefficient de rendimento, or índice de rendimento acadêmico. A euro is calculated per semester or per year or both. The high school GPA is almost never used for college entrance evaluation in public universities. To enter state colleges, Brazilian students must attend 2 entrance exams called vestibulars. The most famous ones are FUVEST, the entrance exam for University of São Paulo, and ENEM, a national exam that ranks high school students to be accepted by federal-funded colleges. The private colleges system also apply entrance exams, but some might use the GPA as an evaluation method. During college, the GPA is calculated as a weighted average of grade and course hours and have a bigger importance than in the high school as it determines priority in receiving scholarships, for example. The majority of schools adopt a 0 to 10, 0 scale for grading, but some of the Brazilian schools adopt the following grading system: A grade below 50% is surely a fail, although some schools have passing criteria of 60% or 70%. Some schools adopt a system without the E mark, like this. In this system a grade below 70 or 65% is a fail, but the people having C and D grades can attend ERP, Estudos de Recuperação Picavolta Parala, when the grade is not the final grade, and ERF, Estudos de Recuperação Picavolta Final, when the grade is the final grade, so they can have a better grade, A or B. In ERP, if person continues having C or D, he/she will attend ERF. If the person has C or D in ERF, he/she will repeat the year. That's how people say in Brazil. Chile, grades are assigned with a numeric scale from 1.0 to 7.0, including at least 1 decimal, with 4.0 as the lowest passing grade. Everything under a 4.0 is considered a red mark, which equates to failing. For the PSU, Prueba de Selección Universitaria, the scale goes from 150 to 850 points. Depending on the university and the major, the student will need a minimum score to get accepted. The final score will depend on the points obtained in each test, mathematics and linguistics. Natural sciences and history and the NEM score, note as D and C plus or minus ANSA media converted into the PSU scale. Colombia, although there are several grading systems in the country, the one used by public schools is a numeric scale from 0 to 5. 0 is the lowest and 5 the highest. When grading 1 decimal is commonly used. In order to pass a course, the student must obtain a grade equal or higher than 3.0, which corresponds to a 60% of the scale. Since 2010, Colombian schools can choose how to grade their students. Thanks to this, private schools usually use a system either going from 0 to 10 or 0 to 100. Usually, to pass the course, the grade must be equal or higher than 7, which corresponds to 70% of the scale. Also, schools usually do not grade a 0, all grades are granted 10% of the scale, that is, any student whose grade is under 10%, will get 10%. However, once the grade is over 10%, this boost will not apply anymore. There is an exception to this rule, and it is that some schools use a 0 to 7 scale. In this case, the initial boost will be of a 14.2%, and works the same as its counterpart. Final grades can be the result of a simple average. But private institutions can give different percentages to specific grades or grading periods. That is, the final grade of a term is usually the result of a weighted arithmetic mean between the arithmetic mean of all the schoolwork, homework and quizzes taken during the term, and the grade of a final exam, which is taken at the end of the term. Although certain schools use a 70% term work, 30% final exam weighted mean, it may vary between schools. Ecuador. In Ecuador, the rating system is 10 out of 10, including 2 decimal places in both primary, secondary and university. The highest score is 10 and the lowest is 1. To meet the minimum grade to pass this year is 7, depending on how schools are organized. Since 2012 enjoy complete autonomy in Ecuador, so that some establishments maintain supplementary examination for those with less than 7, and other approved intensive recovery, but if the grade obtained is lower 5 are automatically disqualified, and disciplinary same behavior is described as follows: A, B, C, D, E and F, and students they got 10 out of 10 in 90% of subjects in the first school year quimester is promoted to a senior year, but making an entrance examination. Notes on academic qualifications and groups them reasoning thus: 10-9.5 equals rated excellent, 9.4-9.0 equals rated outstanding, 8.9-8.0 equals very good credit rating, 7.9-6.5 equals rating sufficient or good sufficient, 6.4-5.1 equals failing grade with recovery option or supplementary examination, 5.0-1.0 equals fail automatically. Paraguay, the grades vary from 1 to 5, where 5 is the maximum grade achievable and 1 the lowest. The minimum for pass is 2. 5, excellent, 4, very good, 3, good, 2, acceptable, 1, fail. Peru, grades range from 0 to 20, in an almost unique grading table. The passing grade is 11 in almost all schools and universities, while certain ones require 13. In some preschool facilities, grades usually range from F to A+, following the American system, and in a few colleges, the passing grade is 10. Uruguay, high grades in Uruguay are very hard to achieve. Grades range from 1 to 12. 1 is the lowest and 12 is the highest. Passing an exam or course requires 6 out of 12 in high school or at a private university, and 3 out of 12 at a public university. In high school a 6 corresponds to 50% on an exam or in a course, while in a public university, a 3 corresponds to a 60% in a course or exam. Grades of 10, 11 and 12 are considered excellent. Some private universities grade their students on a percentage basis, 60% or 70% being the passing grade. Venezuela, grades in Venezuela may vary according to the education level, but normally the grading system is numerical, and ranges from 00 to 20, 00 being the lowest and 20 being the highest, and 10 being the pass mark, equivalent to a D in the United States. This system is not required, however, and several schools in Venezuela deviate from it by following a letter grade system similar or identical to those in the United States. Shown here is the Venezuelan grading system in probable comparison with the United States grading system. References